Same theming.
Crappy?
Yeah, it's that same kind of, that kind
All
of
right,
like
welcome everybody
animation.
to CRInvestor and Flibbr's cryptocurrency show for Wednesday, April 16th. This is about our third or fourth of these, so we're just chugging right along. Looks like we have a relatively full room in the Google Hangout. Looks like we do have a little room for a few more, so if anybody out there is interested, feel free to pop in. This show's supposed to be from 5 p.m. Pacific time to 7 p.m. Pacific time. We have so much fun here that we might go over. One of the shows we did recently that I wasn't even expecting it to happen went about 3 hours, but what the heck? We have fun. That's what the purpose of this is all about. I think I better turn off my volume in the background, but I like to have that pop on just to confirm that we are actually live, so I apologize for that. All right, so today's show, this is cryptocurrency show, so guess what we're going to talk about? We got Mr. Crypto himself, Flibbr, just a phenomenal gentleman, my privilege to work with. So, hello, sir. How are you this evening?
Hey, Brian, I'm fine, thanks.
Good, good. Been hearing the wonderful stories of you carving the market up of late, so I'm very proud of you for that. Way to go. Hopefully some of the tools that I have imparted on you have helped you in your trading endeavors, but I'm sure we're going to hear lots of that. Hello, room participants. How are you all tonight? Anyone want to chime in and say hello?
Hey guys, want to make money.
Okay, well that's all right. Now all you go on mute, please. All right, so everybody is watching on YouTube. The purpose of this show is to have fun and to be interactive. I like to take the first half hour or so just to sort of get settled in and talk about different sort of news events and fundamental drivers of late. People in the lounge, if you want to type in maybe in the text field if you have a specific idea you want us to touch on. But Flibbr, why don't you start us off? What did you think were sort of the big things that happened in cryptocurrency land this past week?
Well, the China ban basically turned out to be a bit of a non-issue, and the market just absolutely went ballistic. Good move, but really interesting, really, because although it went ballistic, it actually, the last move that went ballistic, 500 to 700, or whatever it was, it worked. We actually have only done kind of half that move, and the one before we actually did double that again. Like we did, we've only been doing half, so each kind of big move has got bigger, and we've kind of bounced off this main long-running trend line still. So. I'm still not convinced that we're kind of totally out of it yet, but the more people kind of feel it, obviously the more it kind of comes to a turnaround. So China ban being over has obviously cleared a lot of it. But there's a date about the 18th, but I'm not sure where that's come from. But
have you been? I find it fascinating. And this is why I sort of like to talk about this stuff ahead of time. But on one of my charts, just out of curiosity, I put on the moon cycle, and I found it fascinating. I think it's this chart. Yeah, there it is. I found it fascinating that our full moon literally was right on this price spike event, up, and we hit our highs basically on that event. And so I guess. Did you, me just making conversation here, did you find anything about the full moon that added to your trading experience, or did you hear about people talking about it? Did it have any effect whatsoever in your opinion?
No, it didn't, to be honest, because I knew that we had this. What we have had is we have had the tetrad, which comes along, like I think it's like 3 or 4 times, don't quote me, every 500 years. And that's actually just been happening like probably in the last couple of days, and that is a very rare event in itself. And at the same time that that's been going on, we have had this absolutely ballistic rally. So the bodies are whatever they are, percent water, and we are affected by the lunar cycle. So yeah, I mean, it could play a part in it. I'm totally open to that. I don't see why not. And it might put some reasoning down to this crazy rally from nowhere. Because before the rally kicked off, it was very bearish and nobody was buying. You were struggling to get limit sales bought out, and China Hubi was just down, 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 and down, and suddenly, boom! It was like rocket launch takeoff.
Yeah, well, I think I pulled up the daily Hubi chart here, just to put what you're talking about into perspective. And indeed, I mean, basically, it's been a 3-day rally at least. I mean, maybe we've got an exhaustive doji-ish type pattern over the past day, but really over the past 4 or 5 days, it's just been a relentless surge up. I'm wondering if this is sort of like a sell on the new rumor and then sort of your knee-jerk buy on the news kind of event. Mm-hmm. And, with that in mind, I'm thinking that once this exhausts itself, do we see the resumption of the previous trend?
Well, the other thing is the more it rallies, the less people become willing, because with every trade, one's a buyer and one's a seller, with the market execution. And as it rallies, people, they pull their bids, they stop market selling because they want to just let it ride up, and and it just kind of takes off in this parabolic fashion, doesn't it? So.
Well, it'd be interesting. So, I've often wondered, now that the community has so graciously made donations to my cause, so I'm part of this Bitcoin trade now, you wonder, does it make sense for the market to have a parabolic move here? I've very rarely ever seen parabolic moves start from this kind of event. Usually, in my experience, the parabolic move needs a base to build off of before it can go parabolic. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is exactly what I've been saying, because everybody's been going, reversal, we're out. And I'm saying, but look at every other time we've come out. We haven't just exploded out. We've actually taken a really long time to kind of work it really gradually. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If you go back to, say, like 260 to 50 bubble and then do this one, it kind of went down to 70, but it did kind of jump back up quite violently to, say, 90, and then another kind of jump to 140. So in that respect, you could say maybe it's legit to kind of jump up to this level, have a little bit of retracement, and then jump up to, say, 600-700.
So given the I personally feel like I need to see some sort of capitulation from the public on this before I can believe that the bear trend is over. In your mind, do you think what we've seen out of China makes you believe that any of this was just no more than just an aberration?
No, because the reason why we had those sell-offs, like looking at your daily chart there, the two last largest full-body red candles were both, quote, China bans Bitcoin news. But they, it was like news, China bans Bitcoin, okay, it doesn't, sell off, buy back. But it wasn't really like, man, this thing is worthless. But I don't think anybody's ever going to feel that way. I mean, to be honest, the more talk there is of these kind of super low figures, the better it is. And when the suicide hotline come out on Reddit, at 350, 360, I commented, I said, that's my buy signal. And
Wow, so that's the kind of news sort of thing that I want to hear. So I haven't heard that. Tell me about that. I mean, that to me sounds something very interesting.
yeah, well, when we had the first crash from $1,000 up there down to the very first big low, we had the suicide hotline come out on Reddit, and obviously that was the buy signal, to get back in. And then when we crashed back down to 350, again the suicide hotline come out, so that was the buy signal.
And what is that? Is that somebody on Reddit said, if you're feeling suicidal, please call me?
It's just like somebody putting the numbers to all the suicide hotlines. So if you're feeling pretty low, you can ring up about people and stuff.
Isn't that interesting? Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that because you hate to want to take advantage of that kind of information, but I agree. That kind of event, you could almost just set like a screening tool. That if you see those kind of that kind of talk, then yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to think about putting new money to work.
Yeah,
that's too bad. That's a shame, but that's because
when there's blood on the streets.
Sure. All right. No comments from the cheap seats. I'm just playing with you guys.
That's it.
All right. So I guess. What time is it now? I guess it's 1:15. So, we'll just see how these go. I will be honest. Some people have said that maybe 2 hours is a little bit long. So I think we've had enough time for some chit chat, and I think we've got a pretty good idea of the background. I'm gonna do now, I guess, maybe a 10-20 minute presentation on just what I happen to be seeing in the markets with regard to Bitcoin. Then we're going to hand the mic off to Flibbr. He's shown me some interesting material he wants to go over. He did actually do, speaking of Reddit, I believe that Flibbr posted a nice little note on Reddit here about the show, talking about what he's going to talk about. And I also noticed too that it's funny, I think we've talked a bit about this before too, how there are a lot of people in the world that I guess look at people who actually trade the cryptocurrencies as, part of the system, and they kind of don't like us in that regard. Having said that, if you want to go pop over to Reddit and give Flibbr some props, I suppose I'd love to see that ratio turned around, but anyway.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting to see that. In fact, I don't know whether you saw my post, right? Somebody said 40% downvotes this. People pay money to learn, blah, 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 blah. And all I could do is all I posted was LOL, right? Because all you can do is laugh out loud, right?
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, the thing is, it's a Bitcoin markets forum. It's a Bitcoin markets Reddit. It's about trading. It's about, working your coins and putting them to good use rather than just sitting and holding on them. So people go there to learn about this kind of stuff. And if you want to learn with somebody with 25 years experience, and me, I do it every day for a living. It's like at the end of the day, you might listen to somebody and just think, you know what, I just think that's complete rubbish. But at least if you do open your ears to it, you might hear something and say, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good idea. So
yeah, well, and that's the question is. The purpose of these shows is just to give out that positive karma. I mean, I suppose we could try and advertise and all that kind of fun stuff, but we don't, right? I mean, we're just here having fun, talking about coin, taking questions, and just chit-chatting. It's all positive karma. And I feel sad because I think some people actually feel like there's maybe an ulterior motive to all this or something. But you know what? Karma is karma, and that's just sort of the way it is.
Anyway, very serious over there.
Yeah, I just wanted to post this because anybody's watching on YouTube or here in the lounge, Flibbr is posting, and the information is out there. But take it for whatever it's worth. All right, so on to my spiel. I've actually been asked, in the past, maybe just to do a couple minutes on who I am, actually, so I'll just do very quickly. I guess I'm a mid-40s, 43, just about to be 44, Generation Xer that's basically worked and traded in the markets for about the past 20, 25 years. I happen to have a website called therationalinvestor.ca, which somebody commented looks like it was written back in the 90s, and I love this website because I wrote all the code by hand myself, including all these tickers and embedding videos and all that. I have a couple algorithms here that I run on the site, so you're more than welcome to take a look at that. Long and short of it is, basically I call myself a rational investor, so I like to look at both sides of the coin. If you looked at my moniker here and envisioned that the green part of this green circle is the fundamentalists, and the red circle is the technicians, I like to consider trade ideas that sort of fall into where they overlap or agree. So with that in mind, that's actually called rational analysis, and that's explained on the website if you want to learn more about that. I was drawn to the Bitcoin world, I suppose, just this past Christmas, when I had a conversation with a cousin of mine at a Christmas party. And actually, I guess I didn't advertise that the show was on in the TradingView community. Flibbr, maybe you could do that while I'm jibber-jabbering away here. All right, so where was I? I was sort of, Bitcoins themselves were brought to my attention by a cousin of mine who works in the high-tech industry. And so I sort of came to the party right, when it was like $1,000. And it's been a fascinating journey, basically watching a bear market play itself out. And tragically, this is basically how these markets work, in that through the run-up, that's when the public gets interested. And I heard stories about people like getting Bitcoins in their stockings for Christmas. So you knew, obviously, the story was getting a bit saturated at that point. And sure enough, a bear market had to develop. I think probably the best tell of the market top was when Goldman Sachs came out and added justifiable fundamental valuation for these levels. And we all know you're supposed to do everything exact opposite what Goldman Sachs says you do. Yeah. Right. I've like I showed on my website, and I'll probably get into a lot of trouble for that. So, Big Brother, I apologize. Please don't take what few resources I have in this world away from me. All right. I've worked in the markets, like I said, for quite a long time. I've built up a whole bunch of sort of technical tools that I've liked to use. And the one reason why I really like TradingView is because basically I've been able to bring these tools to a platform that's as robust as TradingView's. Just getting Bitcoin charts themselves is pretty tough. It's not the easiest thing to do. You have to sort of jump into the Bitcoin world. Like a lot of typical stock charting programs and websites, they don't even carry Bitcoin quotes. So, that's one reason why I really like TradingView. As you can see by the chart that hopefully you can see on my screen. So let's see. Let's make sure that you can see that. Good. I like to, whenever I analyze something, I analyze price, I analyze volume and money flows, and I analyze momentum. And actually, over the past few days, I've taken the opportunity to write tutorials on how each of these indicators works, and on how the Fibonacci's work. So if you want to get those, they're in slide format, 3 or 4 pages long. I'm going to create little videos on them. Basically the information is correct. Now whether you actually use the information to better your trading, that's entirely up to you. Someone like Flibbr here just for some reason what I said to him just resonated with him because he has so much market experience probably, that he was able to quickly grab onto the concepts, and he's just run wild with them. And it's beautiful to watch him actually do everything that I sort of talk about because, ironically enough, I probably, even though I espouse that this is what you should do, was I in here buying at the OTE sweet spot, at 375? I remember I gave tutorials to people about saying, if I was going to buy, this is where I buy. And, we even came up with a nice simple buy order at, say $380 or whatever. And yet, was I buying there? I was, pooping my pants like everybody else. And so, just because you know the information doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use the information. So just take it for what it's worth. If you can incorporate it into your trading plan and your trading model, it can do remarkable things. And the beautiful part about this show is we actually have somebody here who's in the market on a daily basis putting all of these principles to work and making a killing. So it's just beautiful to watch. All right. I'll get off my pedestal now. All right, so looking at the daily BTCE chart, I happen to follow BTCE because that's where I have my coins parked. Being in Slovenia, I don't feel the most confidence in the whole setup, but it seemed to be the path of least resistance. So I'm in BTCE, enjoying the Eastern European atmosphere. I suppose that's a joke. I apologize if it was interpreted poorly. Anyway, the daily BTCE chart. Few things that sort of jumped out at me and sort of have for quite a while. This whole concept that institutions do not like to buy on the way up. So, all these institutions saw these price moves, and hey, everybody was talking about Bitcoin's at $1,000. Where would they realistically like to buy? And a gentleman that I follow closely, and I would encourage you to do, and each and every one of these shows, I basically say the same thing. He runs a website here on YouTube called the Inner Circle Trader. He has videos. These Sniper Field Guide video series is excellent learning material. You're more than welcome to go to his site, watch all of his videos. They're all free, which is incredibly beautiful karma, and you will learn. So what will you learn? You'll learn that institutions really like to buy between the 61.8 and 78.6 Fibonacci retracement levels. And the midpoint between these 2 points is the sweet spot of the zone, and that's an area that I really like, and that's the 70.5. Now, does it mean that price has to go to this 70.5? No. But it does mean that, if you had a magnet and the magnet was drawing something towards it, this is sort of the focal point of that magnet. And you'll also learn from Mr. Huddleston, I think that's his name, I always mispronounce it, but anyway, that, the 78.6 level is very important. If this level is given, then it means that this entire bull market is really in question. So I found it fascinating that this key low here just so happened to be 375, right on this OTE sweet spot. And when, this channel also seemed to correspond to a move down into here. So, when we were working our way lower, basically this price channel suggested that, we're still in a bear trend, and that, you're probably going to find some very interested buyers down in this 375 area. The interesting thing, too, here, when this event happened, our, momentum indicator, our, one of our parts of our momentum indicator, the overbought, oversold indicator basically went into the oversold zone, and the moving average also went into the oversold zone, suggesting that, the market was acting kind of stupid. That's kind of why I give it this term. And if I fed into that stupidness, I would feel really stupid at a later date. And sure enough, feeding into this sort of selling euphoria hearing about, suicide hotlines on Reddit. That's kind of the stupidness that I talk about. That's what this indicator was designed to help me identify. The fact that the indicator itself put in a market structure that's bullish, and if you take my tutorials or anything, then you'll know that anytime we have structure that goes down, then up, then down, then up again, this is bullish action, not bearish action. So the double bottom off of the oversold condition, this is actually something that bulls should have been paying attention to. Now, it wasn't really confirmed by momentum or volume, but at the same point, it's pretty valid in itself. Now, what do we take out of it now? As we are right at the moment, we are no longer stupid. So, is now a good time to be considering thinking about this kind of setup? Absolutely not. But as we were heading into this, I think we could appreciate, a bit of a divergence here just in this indicator itself. But the fact that the moving average was down there meant that, new shorts were definitely not a good idea. And if you were an owner and you called me up on the phone and you said, Brian, as my broker, what do you suggest I do? And I would have to say, this just isn't a good time to sell. This thing may be a sell, but at this point, it's just not a good time to sell. So, I think that basically has proved itself out. Are we in a new bull uptrend? I don't think so. I just don't see enough evidence here for me to believe that we've turned the corner. If we zoom in on the lower time frames, we see this is a 4-hour chart now. We see that from this rally peak at $700, just not that long ago, and Flibbr and I were actually commenting on this. We've been looking at William Gann a bit lately, and Gann's basic principle is that if an asset is going to fall, it's going to fall 50% of its value. So $700, what's 50% of that? Doink, $350. And sure enough, that's basically where it stopped. So Flibbr and I were joking about how Mr. Gann's sitting on the other side laughing at us right now. Mr. Gann would then say, all right, now that you've had your fall and they've cleaned it up, you should look for a 50% going the other direction. So sure enough, the fib off of the high to the low, and here we are, 50%, right on the nose. And what's fascinating is that this is a 4-hour chart. Keep in mind that we have a beautiful doji right on this 50% level. Look at that. Very, very wide. Washed the shorts. They washed those stops out, washed the weak longs, washed them out, and came back and basically finished unchanged. So fascinating to watch William Gann's work in action. And that's something, if anything, you can take away from this session today, is do yourself a favor. Go look at some Gann theory, and you'll have a new appreciation for the 50% rule. What's also interesting, too, about that is that, they draw this 50% level on this Fibonacci tool that TradingView uses, and yet the 50% level is not part of the Fibonacci sequence. So it's fascinating that they include it on there. It just happens to be a happy coincidence that they include it. All right, so what do I see sort of coming off of this? Something that jumps out at me is that, if we think about market structure, does this structure, as you see right now, does it look like a W? To me, this looks like a V. And the problem with V's is that this low will need to, at some point, be tested. Now, it may be something like, there's your test, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to come down and hit this low in particular, but it does mean that, just from somebody who's seen this so often, that this is not the makings of a bull market. This is what we often say, that bull markets have V tops and W bottoms. Bear markets, unfortunately, have V bottoms and W tops. So we have basically all the weak hands flushed out of the market. The smart money can take the market back because there just aren't any sellers here, right? The market's just literally run out of sellers. Then we're going to get the public back interested, so we go through the process of making an M top as we, sort of goad more and more and more people into the market to come back down and put in a new V bottom, right? So that's something that jumps out at me. Do I see some sort of, the interesting thing here, again, V bottom, this was a nice momentum divergence. So obviously, as good technicians, we should have been paying attention to that. I do remember Flibbr pointed out this momentum divergence to me. So I know he was thinking about that. And then, just from a 4-hour perspective, Willie, our sort of overbought, oversold indicator, was basically sitting down in stupid. Would come out of stupid, would go back down, come back out, go back down. We call this, embedded condition here. It is indicative of a bear market, and really, buying into any of this, this was very tough to do. That would have been very, very tough to do. In my opinion, really, any long trades for me, I suppose if you're, somebody who had taken heed of that 380 level, you would have just bought on an open order here, right, which would have been a pretty darn good trade. You would have taken a little bit of heat, but it turns out that, in hindsight, I bet you that's going to look like one hell of a good purchase. And already now you're already up, 150 some odd dollars. Where was I going with this? The setup that I could have played long, for me, because this was a V bottom, I could have considered going long off of this doji right here, and ultimately having a bull ABCD target in this neighborhood, that 500. I thought it was really interesting, so again, that's just to finish that off, that sort of speaks to, Willie's no longer stupid, momentum's getting a bit old, this is a V bottom, we've rallied back up into the, into the moving averages. Is this sort of insane setup here still on the table? And the simple answer is no, it's gone, and the market has moved up. What I find very interesting about this rally, if you look at the, well, actually we'll get to that in a second. Just to finish this thought, if I was an institution and I was thinking about selling this breakdown, right? So the institutions, they see this $700 rally, right? And then the subsequent breakdown. We know from Mr. ICT and our daily chart that institutions don't chase markets. They don't buy on the way up. They engineer corrections to get the market back down into their institutional order block zone or that OTE long zone. So, using the same logic, if they wanted to get short, where would they want to get short, right? And so if we use the same premise that they see this move to new lows, where are they going to be thinking about loading the boat up on the short side? And if we draw a fib off of this 4-hour range, off of the 700 high, then that area is somewhere between about 560 and 620, with the sweet spot being right around 595, 593, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think it's interesting too. We've got the 200 period SMA right here. That's sitting right now at about 555 or so. We tried to come up and kiss it earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to go up there and dance with it a little bit. On this 4-hour chart, you notice that the move to new highs was convergent, right? It was on, I don't know whether that's the right term or not. It was not on a divergence. It was, this is a healthy move, so, it's chunky and it's ugly, but what we're really looking for as technicians is if the market makes a new high, but momentum can't make a new high. Whereas momentum made its high on this crazy bar up here. Same thing with OBV. I don't see any real major divergence here. Maybe something might be forming over the short term. Willie right now has a reading of minus 23, so we are technically not stupid yet. We might even get another double bottom breakout on the raw indicator as it pushes right up against 100. So, there is room for him to run. Again, this sort of speaks to, are we buyers here? I think you're pretty late to the party. As we said, we had an okay setup here if you really needed to be long. But really, this, to me, looks like a dead cat bounce. Shorts, they made all their money on the way down. Dead cat bounce back up into resistance, and then we reload. I thought it was interesting, too. We have this trend line here off of this low here and this low here. And you'll notice that the market on this spike went zooming up through it, really powered its way through it, came back, and then basically has acted as a bit of a pivot now. So it looks to me like the resolution around this trend line here will probably dictate trade over the next while. So you see how it zoomed up, came back, fought with it, rallied away, came back. That major doji basically reversed right on the 13 EMA and that trend line, and now we're reversing off of it higher. So to me, that looks like a pretty significant level somewhere in there going forward. On a shorter time frame, I thought it was interesting. I'm just going to mention, and I started to talk to the room about it. I'm not quite sure how to interpret it. This is the 1 hour chart. Here's that OTE long at 403. Like a schlub, of course, I sold my coins here at 457, 458 on the OTE short sweet spot tag, anticipating that the market was going to roll over. Basically, everything said to me it looked like it was going to. Didn't happen, and lo and behold, look what came and just punched me in the mouth. Good old full moon right on the nose. The market popped right on that event. I actually went to bed last night, and I was looking at this candle right here. You can see we had a nice small little doji here, and I was seriously considering, because when I went to bed it was right here, and I was seriously considering just going and buying it. And sure enough, the silly market just popped higher, and I woke up, of course, to this. I had a little bit of coin left over, so actually I let the last of it go at 512 up in here. Interesting, on the hourly chart, we actually had a selling candle here that finally came in. It was on a bear momentum divergence, so correction looked good. But what I noticed here just of late is that this trend line here off of this low and this low, the down candle came right back to that trend line. And then as you can see, the market just came right to it. Here's another little doji, and it resolved bullishly off of it. If we just draw a simple trend line off of these peaks, then you clearly see we have a wedge forming here. So obviously there's some selling pressure up in this area, and really, these 3 candles in a row. Somebody was trying to tell me if you see 3 of these green candles in a row, that's bullish. OBV right now seems to be pointing higher for the time being. This candle's a bit lower than the previous candle, so that's not really too enthusiastic. We're still working off of this bearish breakdown here. Make sure, okay, everybody can still see me. Good. So that's basically my 2 cents. 38.2 off of the top here was 471, and what I'm hoping for, but frankly I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. Not quite sure where I had that. Is I would like to see an OTE short sweet spot tag, but I'll tell you, it looks to me like she's getting ready to run here. So that's sort of what I see there. And yeah, I guess the last thing I'll finish off with was this potentially looked like this might have been a bearish Gartley to me. I don't know whether you guys know what a Gartley pattern looks like, but basically, and I'll just, this, excuse my freehand, but basically it looked a big down, 61% up, then a down, then up to 78.6, and then it falls apart. So I didn't know whether this was going to play out. If it is a Gartley, then basically this 531.77 levels, basically the fail point. I don't know whether this chart's updating or not. Oops. It might not be. I think I see 529.13 on BTCE here, so I am watching this closely for fail. If this is a Gartley, then this will break pretty hard. I do notice Willie is starting to get overbought here, so real horse race right into the end of my presentation. So that's sort of my 2 cents. In summary, very wide daily trading range. I think you could see 627 here. That's certainly not unrealistic. If we blow up to the 4-hour, this was a V bottom, which to me is a classic dead cat bounce in a bear market. Here's that 627, the OTE short sweet spot off of the 700 rally was at 593, so that's kind of where I'm leaning toward the market going. If we look at the very short term, basically we're in a bit of a wedge right now. Resolution of this wedge will dictate trade, and if you are believing that that wedge will resolve bearish, then the actual bearish setup is a bearish Gartley pattern where you short the 78.6 and your stop is a new high. And that's everything I have to say. All right, so Flibbr, are you around?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. So I think that sort of summarizes my thoughts. And why don't we just maybe take 2 or 3 minutes? Anybody want to post a question or ask in the lounge? Fire away, and then we'll move on to Andres. So, any questions? The floor is open. So now's when I need some background music. So, question for you guys was: does anybody figure out how we can do background music in a Google Hangout?
That's a good idea. Yeah, Darren said, how do you spread your buy and sells?
Well, honestly, Darren, my trading in this Bitcoin is very, very amateur right now. And I believe that my trading is very amateur right now because I don't have a trading plan for Bitcoins. The one show, a little while ago, I was like, well, I'm not going to trade them because, the dollar value isn't right. And then I was like, oh, no, I think I'm going to trade them. And this is a pitfall that people often get into, is that, by day, week by week, your trading plan actually changes. And it morphs. That, I would say, is my number one fault at what I'm doing with the Bitcoins right now. So I hope that doesn't, I hope that answers your question. Frankly, I'm not doing a very good job at trading the Bitcoins right now. But I am doing a very good job trading crude oil, and that's actually paying me money. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I need a sound effect for that. Oh, I don't know where my. Hey, thank you.
Hey, Darren, I'll tell you how I spread my buy and sells. I basically start probably a tiny bit under the 61.8 because everybody loves the 61.8. Everybody will stick fibs up on that and just pepper the 61.8. So I start off just underneath the 61.8 if I'm, if I think if it looks weak, basically I'll go for probably 50%. But otherwise, if it's just kind of normal trading, then I'm peppering around just before the 61.8, and I'll pepper it all the way up to the top of the OTE zone at 78.6, and I just spread them all over that zone, and then if it's going to go down after that,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, just pepper that zone, because what I imagine it's like a tide in the sea. When that when that buy wave comes in, it's going to come in, it's going to roll in, and then it's going to roll back. And sometimes it might only hit that zone. Sometimes it'll go into that zone and it will stay there for like an hour, and you're like, God, I should have just held it and just But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just one buy. It comes in, it goes out, and then it never comes again. So that's what I do. I just leave it. I just pepper the zone and leave them.
Yeah. So I started. I started off by just placing all of my orders at the OTE sweet spot, or just like one order. And then on the last rally that actually I did trade this half decent, I had suggested that we would get a rally. Let's see if I can show it here. Anyway, I thought we would get a nice rally, and there was a nice OTE zone, and I had, it was this one here, and I had orders at the 61, the 70, and 70.5, and only the 61.8 got filled. So that's an example where it just went up and kissed into the 61.8 and then failed. So sometimes it goes all the way into the zone, sometimes it goes all the way a little bit past. If you stagger them through that zone, at least you think you got a pretty good chance of getting some fills.
Thanks, guys. Now I'm going to have trouble getting filled after you told everybody the secret.
Yeah,
you have to put it lower than the guys putting it lower than the fib.
We're exposing all the secrets on this show. It's unbelievable. It's just making life harder for ourselves.
Well, and see, that's the interesting thing about this, right? Is that nobody out there in the world has any vested interest in us, having this program. Except, the public. They'd really, really benefit from it. I don't know whether they will or not, but they could.
Yeah. All the public could, and help fight off the retail guys. So
look at this battle on your Bifinex right at this. Who was I talking to about the Gartley here earlier? Was that?
Yeah, that would be me.
Look at this battle. I mean, look at this. Is this going to be a head and shoulders top here? Isn't that incredible?
I'm shorting.
Isn't that incredible? That's fascinating. And look at it now. And now look at the momentum divergence there. Huh. Incredible.
Hubi's pumping though, so you might be careful there.
Yeah, Hubi is pumping, but how long is this going to go on for? I mean, yeah, you're right. You've got to be careful, but we'll see, won't we?
Well, but see, now what we need to be able to do is what's a Gartley on this, right? Can you see my screen? But we can't get Hubi on TradingView, can we?
No, we can't get it. But also look at the what was I just looking at then on Hubi? Yeah, I was looking at the 3-minute MACD divergence going on these peaks. Because you've got 3 successive peaks here, maybe even a fourth top.
You know what that is? That's
what?
Called a 3 drives. Google 3 drives.
Oh yeah.
You see how it makes those peaks? Boom, boom, boom. And look, so the 78.6 on Hubi I see right now is 33.79. So that's where the Hubi Gartley would come in.
Nice. Let's have a little short squeeze on Bitfinex. Fill me up then on the shorts, and that'll do.
It might be because that midpoint was 50. We might get up to the 88.6, but they don't show you that on this. So the Hubi fail would be up in this area. It would be that 33.79 to 3400 area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what that looks like? This looks like a bat. You know what a bat formation is?
I thought it was more of a dog.
I don't know. Let's see what a dog looks like. I never seen. What does a dog look like?
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
You're just mean now.
Yeah, there's these just because I was looking at these Gartleys before, and they're like it's like the bat and all this stuff, and I was like, why they have a dog on there, Thank you.
Where's that? I can't. When I want to get the sound effects, where is it? It's one of these darn things. Oh, there you go. No, it's not this one. Oh, jeez. See, I'm such a flub. Oh, sound station, is that it? No, I don't think that's it. No, that's not it. Now I gotta close it. Now I'm getting off topic. Okay, Flibbr, you gotta do your presentation. I guess, did we do all the, I guess we took care of any questions, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so, it's your
Put
turn.
it on my screen. Can you put it on my screen share? Can you just no? Is there no questions on YouTube? No, nothing. Okay, cool. Yeah, can you put it on my screen share? Can you?
I think I have.
Let me check it on YouTube.
I clicked on you, but you're... Yeah, I think that's you.
I'll check the YouTube feed.
Now it's got a
Have a
little
quick
dog.
look. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the first thing I was going to talk about is fib retracement, and the reason why I was going to talk about this is because I noticed that people this is like basically all the stuff I'm going to talk about today is just basically what I've noticed people in Bitcoin markets kind of weren't aware of, and so I thought, well, you know what, if they don't know about it, I'm just going to tell them. So the first one is this fib retracement, and I'll zoom right in here, make it as clear as possible, and that is the maybe I'll just change the color and make it a bit clearer. So each of these fibs is a 38.2, and you can just come in whenever you want, Brian, and whatever. But yeah, each of these is 38.2, and you see this one here, which went off.
Listening for now.
Yeah, well, to run off that low there, and is this one here. So you can see what happened. It just kind of went up from here up to the top, and then bounced, hit the 38.2. I think it might have hit the 50 as well. But you know, the 50 is the ultimate test. If it stays above the 38.2, it's definitely bullish. If it hits a 50, that's like the next level to test, obviously. And but anyway, I might have hit the 50, but you can always use 38.2 to get your refill if you're out of position. And so the next one went up from here off this low about here, and exactly the same again, straight up to the top. And this one, look, it was so bullish it just held this 38.2. And then we did the next wave up again. So you knew it was bullish at this point. So you could have said, well, this looks pretty bullish because it hit the 38.2 and it kind of never fully retraced down. You could have said that this is bullish already. It wants more. So you could have taken an entry on this level. And then again, running this one off this low up to the next level. And again, what happened? 38.2, a little bit below. Again, might have just pinged on the 50 on the initial panic dump. And yeah, exactly the same happened again. So on this one though, this one was a lot more interesting because this one actually comes into Brian's OTE zone, and you can see what happened was if I just remove this, and this was one I did an OTE trade off this one. I'll just delete this to get a bit of room. But I went from this low up to this high here, which is the last low to the last high, and you can see the OTE zone was 503, and what happened was we had a bit of a panic sell-off before, and everything was starting to begin to look unstable. It was like spinning plates on top of a stick, you know. Everything was starting to get wobbly, and bulls were trying to run around and keep these plates spinning and say, let's just keep this thing going, and they took it up to this level. And I was like, I'm shorting. And then I noticed it was doing exactly the same move, this kind of like this pennant, exactly the same again. And I thought, this is delusional, because each one, the length of each one, not only was the timing between each wave getting shorter, but the actual height of each one was getting shorter and less powerful. There was also some bearish divergence going on the MACD, and so I knew that this thing was completely running out of steam. Like I say, I shorted here, but I thought, well, actually, I just banked profit on this one, so I did. And I thought I'd just reshort on the next level. And there were some people who were like selling and buying up here, and I was thinking, what are you doing? Sell. I did post all about it in Reddit Marketplace. I said, look, this is the place to sell. Sell here. I said, look at this, and I gave loads of reasons why this was the top. And basically, I think I probably shorted more like, I didn't short right at the top, I actually shorted about here. But I shorted there because it was just completely delusional. There was reversal candles. I think I've actually got that somewhere on here. Where is it, Hubi? On the Hubi 3 minute, you can see if I zoom right in, you can see that candle. And I just pull that up on my little thing because I was watching the 3 minute. And you can see this is the bearish MACD divergence we had going on. So we've got the higher high, but not on the MACD. So it was clear that something was not right on this. But what happened was this candle here. We had the last green one, and then the red one on the top was a long body. I can't remember the exact name for it, but basically it just shows that bears had just hammered that down. So that was a nice sign at the top. And then you had the full body red, after it, which was basically the bearish engulfing. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, well, it's over. Short, get out. Pile in the shorts, get out. And sure enough, it probably took 10 minutes left, and it was just complete breakdown after that. So that was pretty interesting. So yeah, so that's the fib levels in terms of on the going up, and yeah, like I said, I took this OTE zone at 503. People were getting pretty scared here after the initial drop. I did a bit of trading on this one, a couple of swings, but I think it was like here where I actually did my main actually going along, and everyone was selling, and I was just thinking, I'm buying, buy. And yeah, I just kept buying, and so that long worked out pretty well. Banked profit off that too. I didn't want to be too greedy because I'm still not confident, in where this is going. So just thought, just bank profit and be done with it. So just using those fibs that I just explained, you can see if this is the top, and you don't know, it could take another level. Who knows? But if this is the top, then obviously, as Brian said, the OTE zone is going to be here. Like I say, I would go just above the 61.8 down to 70.5 and maybe keep a little bit of money to the side. So if it does come down to say here and stop, I've got that little bit of money I can just chuck straight in there. Or if it comes down to here and stops, I can chuck some money in there. So just keep a little bit to the side just in case. So that's obviously the OTE zone for those. But if it wants to stay super bullish, again, we can just let's say we'll only hit that 38.2, won't it? Which would be there if that is the top. But the interesting thing about this as a level, and this is Bitfinex I'm on, by the way, and this 38.2 and this 50%, in my mind, I've been telling people about this all day, is going to be a really crucial level, because if this 50% doesn't hold up, then just sell all your Bitcoin. Don't do what I'm saying, but I will be selling my Bitcoin and re-shorting and stuff. And the reason is because we've just got this level here that we had before, and this level to me it's in between the 38.2 and the 50. We know the 38.2 is a bull test. We know the 50 is kind of like the next bull test, but this support level is kind of like, if this doesn't hold, it's like, I call it a battleground. It's where the market's been fighting. Are we going up? I mean, it wasn't really fighting because the actual bodies of the candles are so small, so it's more kind of showing that there's a really small range of movement. Maybe people were scared and they didn't know what to do. But either way, I'm going to be looking to say, if this doesn't hold, then I'm definitely going to be looking at the OTE zone, because and the OTE zone is like down here. So if that's 440 and the OTE zone is down 380, then that's obviously going to be a load more money and stuff. So yeah, that's going to be a key level for me on Bitfinex as to whether that's going to hold up and what's going to happen on that.
So a couple cool things I just mentioned about your chart. Your analysis of those 32.8s is spot on. Very, very good. Basically, the bull was going to stay in charge as long as those levels were maintained. And then the duration of each of the moves themselves, the initial bursts, and then the duration of the little pennants or flags that were formed, is in itself an awesome little tell too. So it's a very good read on your part there. And then the fact that, yeah, we did have an OTE trade set up here, but what's an OTE used for, right? It's used for range trading. So that means by definition, the OTE, its target is that high, but, it would actually be, taking profits on a test of that high. Which is range strategies, right? So, the fact that we're not doing the little 32 or 38.2 fibs, and now we're into OTE trading should be a tell in itself. That's the only thing
Yeah, definitely, and that's it. And I mean, I've just put the time scale on here. You can see the first kind of major leg, 28 bars, or 3 days. The next leg took 1 day. The next leg took 17 hours. The next leg took 7 hours, and the next leg, the last one, took 3 hours. So when you put that together, and you say,
there's got to be a fib ratio in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably a fib timeline or something. But you put that together, you put it with the bearish divergence. We also had, again, I posted all of this in Bitcoin market, so there's no excuse for not selling at the top, really. I know I've cut out a couple of wicks there, but just for the sake of argument. But it was forming this kind of this rising wedge, and it's more evident on Huobi. And this last one, if I just get rid of that, you can actually see that it actually formed a rising wedge within a rising wedge, and the only resolution from that is just completely vertical, which China's very capable of. But it was just screaming, just like this is enough. It's ridiculous. I mean, to people buying up here to take out longs, I don't know what they were thinking. I just don't know. They're obviously
thought the resolution of the rising wedge would have been bearish.
Oh yeah, I just mean the only, for those taking out longs, the only good thing they could have hoped from, would have been completely and utterly vertical, and it's a ridiculous idea, isn't it? But yeah, this was my post on Bitcoin markets. Like I put four links up here. The first one was that Huobi basically bounced off this trend line and been going on since the very top, letting it cut through every single peak. And I said, look, we're at the top of that trend line right now. This was the bearish divergence I was highlighting on the 15-minute. This was the bearish divergence I was highlighting on the 1 hour. And then also this was the rising wedge I was highlighting, saying, look, this is ridiculous. So yeah, all the signals were there. So it was a really easy top, that one. Really easy, couldn't have been any better. So that was basically what I wanted to go through on the fib levels on Bitfinex. But the other thing I want to go through, and this is something I've just been doing in the last week, and it's GAN or GAN, however you pronounce it. It's just about these lines. I don't want to. I mean, the angles are here. You can see them on this website, robertwcolby.com/GAN, and you can get all the angles off here if you want to plug them in manually. And but basically, I just wanted to show people, because the most important thing about GAN I learnt was that you've got to set up your chart right. And the way to set up the chart right is to set up the scaling. And basically, TradingView is the scaling is rubbish on it, but it's really easy to do once you know how. And that is that you just draw, and this is just going to be so quick. You just draw in a horizontal rule, and just put this in at do it all in coordinates, 200 maybe. Where's 200 gone? Or 200's there. That'll be fine. This is how you set a scale in TradingView as well. And then you just get an arrow, and you just put him in, and set him to you can put him anywhere, because we're going to set him manually. We'll set him at 200, and set him at maybe 220, and then just set these at nice round numbers to make the math easy. 850, 850. So you see, all I've done there is I've put him on the same price, the same vertical axis, and just made him 20 bars longer. So there, he's absolutely perfect on that line with a distance of 20. So that gives us perfect 90. And then we just do another arrow going up here. And this is how you set the scale. It's like I said, it's dead easy. So we're starting on the same bar, 200, and we're going to start at 850, and we're going to go up 20, so it would be 870. So that would be 20 is 20 up and 20 across. So then you just move this, and you could say, the thing is, with Garn is he doesn't specify. He says he likes 1-to-1, but you can't have one, like one, what is it, 1 hour to represent $1, because your chart would just be completely unworkable. So sometimes you have to change it, and what's been working quite well is 4-to-1. So I think it's, was it 20, 40, 60, 80? So 80 plus 50. I'm just going to have to get the calculator out because, was it 850? What did I say it was? 850 plus 20, 40, 60, 80? 930. A grade in maths as well, by the way. Okay, so then you do that, and then you've just got to put in a 45-degree angle right on that point. You can zoom in like how I know it doesn't look good at the moment, but this is where the magic comes in. So you put it right in the corner and set him to 45 degrees exactly. Okay, and then we just set 2 more lines, and we're just going to make a little box. So we set this vertical to be here. So easy, but it's so easy, but it takes ages to work this out. Let's just get the position of this arrow. Do it all on the actual exact. So 930, we want that line. 930, because this is important to get this accurate. And this line here is where is it? It's on 220. So we put a vertical on 220. Anybody, because it took me ages on TradingView to work this out, so this hopefully saved loads of people. Okay, so basically what we've done is we've created a box with an aspect ratio of 4-to-1, and then we just move the scale until the 45 cuts through on the box perfectly. And you see, there you go. So that is a perfect scaled ratio at 45 degrees, 4 up, 1 across, and then you can lock the scale. That's then created a locked scale aspect ratio, and from then on, you can if you change the timeline, the time interval, it'll break. But that's then a scaled ratio. You can change the scaling to whatever you want. It's a bit arbitrary what ratio you're going to use, and then you can start picking tops and bottoms and putting in specific Gann angles. Whatever, like 26.2, I think might be 1 or something like that. You can see it probably hit that. You can have a fiddle around with that. So that's how to do the Gann angles on TradingView. And everybody that's not on TradingView should just sign up because there's brilliant tools on here. The other thing I wanted to talk about was how to play the bounces, because this was a really easy bounce to play as well. And playing bounces can be really profitable because you can earn a lot of money really quickly. And this basically what I do is I watch Hubi, because obviously Hubi sets the price, and this was such an easy bounce to play. So yeah, so we got the reversal candle on the 3-minute. I'm on the 1-minute now. People say, oh, who watches a 1-minute? You can't figure out anything good on the 1-minute. Well, the thing is, this is happening so fast that you have to be on the 1-minute to watch what's going on. Anyway, so what happened was, like you said, Brian, 3 drives, that 3 drives bullish pattern. Well, it's almost like what we had that in reverse. And I'm just going to put this on to the drawing tool.
You can have a 3 drives bearish pattern.
Can you? Oh, well, this one, what happened was, after we had that little reversal symbol up there, and we had the breakdown, then we had these lower lows. And what was MACD doing the whole time? Higher highs. So when you've got that MACD doing the higher highs and the lower lows, you know that basically the price is falling against the trend. It's just fear. And then what did we get here? Reversal candle. Exactly the same as what we had at the top, but in reverse. And when you got that, and it was on the OTE long sweet spot of that mini fib, that was just saying buy. Ignore all the panic selling and just soak up all that selling and buy, because you're going to be able to profit off this. And sure enough, so that was pretty easy to play that bounce, and that was exactly how I did it, and I profited off it, and it's pretty easy, it's pretty quick. So that was that. So the only other thing that I wanted to talk about really was basically this whole pump, because I've been calling this a pump since day one, and nobody really seems to be on that level with me. And now what happened, I just give it a brief rundown, because this was a pump and it was really obvious, and I'm just going to explain it, why you could see it was a pump, why anybody could see it was a pump. So basically this was the kind of the V bottom we had. It's on the 15-minute. This was the V bottom we had, with China just kind of selling it off, and this when we went down to 350, and then we kind of bounced back. And this was all completely natural, like this rocket up and all this. This is just completely natural. So we had all that, and then what happened was it started to drift back down again. And then when it got to here, people were thinking, it's going to go back down, but the buys that come in here, literally within 10 seconds or a minute, there was like probably 1.5. I mean, it's on the 15-minute, but within a minute, there was probably 1.5 to 2,000 coins just market bought. And if you really want to, you're going to try and slip in stealthy, secretly. You're going to be scooping them. But this was what he did, is he bought probably 2,000 coins. And then normally, if you did that, there'd be no bid support. And whether it was bots or the pumper himself, but bids were just flooding in. And I don't mean just like, if you look at the order book on this chart, this is quite a natural looking chart. You see, let's just go selected area. This is a Hubi order book. Oh, I have to obviously do something else. Try and capture the whole page. It'll be a minute while that captures. But we're on Hubi. Yeah, so what happened was he pumped this really hard, and then basically it creates, people think, all these people that had sold before just think, oh my god, I've got to get back in, this thing's taking off. And they kind of do a lot of the work themselves, and then it just started to retrace back over. And then this was actually another pump. He just pumped it again, exactly the same system again on the first two legs. And then this next leg was really natural. It was really, really natural, because you can see this one, what happened, just totally out of the blue, boom, explosion. And then this one, boom, explosion. Whereas this one was much more curving around. And this one, it did curve, definitely curved here. But it curved here, it went back up, it faded out, and then he took it off. And this one really curved around naturally, and this one also was quite natural. And then if you look at this last one was him again, and this is where I said I think he took it too far. Let's have a look. If you look at this next, look, you see, you can tell the difference, and I'll just draw it because you can see it. You can see it on Bitcoin Wisdom without even having to look at the order book. You can see this one is very much like this. It curves around. People think, oh, it's going back up. It's going back up. Better buy. Better buy. Better buy. And you see what happened on this next one? It went boom, straight up. There was nothing natural about it. Everybody could see it. We're all talking about it. Look, it's just a completely vertical rider. And what he did is he thought, I'll take this to a next level. But what he didn't realize was that the thing was going to fall apart, and it did backfire in his face. But the other way how you can see it is like this is a natural order book. This is very natural. And yeah, sometimes you do get it's a bit more like this, and that's obviously, leaning towards one way. But sometimes it can be that this one is chiseling away at this one, but sometimes it can also mean that this bigger one is pushing, and people are trying not to, but they're sliding it up. But during the pump, you could watch this, because if this was, say, this was the resistance was pretty much like this. The resistance looked a bit like that, and instead of it just kind of like just going up against it, it would be completely flat 1 minute with no asks, and that would be like when everybody's thinking, oh, this thing's over, there's no bid support, and then within 2 minutes it would just go like literally, and it would dominate this side. It would just completely dominate it. It would crush it, and then as soon as they started selling into these asks, these bids, they'd actually get moved back, or sometimes just pulled, and the bid support would completely drop off the face of the earth again, and then suddenly it would just all come back again, and it was just basically deep pockets. That's what it was. Really, really manipulated, but you know, don't fight it, isn't it? So those are the main things I wanted to talk about, really. Oh, look at this! Look at this bearish Scali. Is it coming down?
Great
I'm
stuff.
pleased I short. Yeah, I'm pleased I shorted at the top.
Oh, look at that!
Perfect.
Oh man. Well, so that was actually a pretty good call. Hey, not bad.
Yeah.
So viewers learned something else tonight.
Yeah, I'm up $200 in my short as well. So.
Wow, isn't that fascinating? Yep. So those Gartley patterns are very powerful.
Yeah.
All right, so it's about, what is it, about 6:15 or so? I think we've both given our 2 cents. I suppose, you know, we have quite a few people in the audience, so, you know, the question, you know, right off the bat, do we have any questions? Anything jumping out at you that you'd like either one of us to attack?
Yeah,
Brian.
sure.
All right, so I heard Landon, but I also heard somebody else, so we'll go Landon, and who was the second person that said something?
It was just me saying that Brian asked for OTE. I'll just say quickly, it just means optimal trade entry.
Okay, so there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Basically, it is the just, I mean, really, if you want to learn this stuff, you got to learn the Fibonacci. And it's the 61.8 to 78.6. Now, the problem with TradingView, for some reason, they default their Fibonacci levels wrong. So you're going to have to go in and manually enter in those levels. So something just to keep in mind. All right, so Landon, you had a question?
Oh, well, I had sort of a commentary slash question. Back what Flibbr was talking about with the rise. I don't know if you guys can put that on the screen or not. But
Hobie, through Hobie?
Or any of the charts really, the whole rise. But I saw I think it was Ron that was making a comment earlier. And I know Flibber's always talking about the whale, the whale, the whale. And I don't really believe it's just one guy. Of course, I do see what he's talking about with those big orders coming in and this and that. But what Ron had pointed out and what I thought was quite interesting and an idea I hadn't heard before is on those first rises, how that they launched up and how they've curved over. I mean, he was basically calling those the first two the smart money pumps, and how they launched up initially and then had curved over, so you had the up and then curve. But on the last two legs, you had the curve and then straight up and then cut back down. Whereas that was more of a forced run up for, say, maybe just overly stupidly bullish dumb money, basically. And I was seeing if you, Brian, had ever witnessed that on a psychological level in the markets, or if that makes sense. Because I thought it was an interesting idea.
Be nice if I could draw on these charts. It's frustrating. So I've got the Hobie chart in front of me, the 5-minute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to understand what it is that you're thinking here. So
like a 30-minute, I think.
30-minute?
Yeah. Or no, back farther, 2 hour.
Oh, you mean off of these lows?
Yeah, yeah. See how it you have the bounce off of those fibs, and then you have basically what he dictated as the high volume smart money pumping it through, and
Yeah.
then you had the light curve over. You had that with the first one and the second one, um, but then it went from, instead of pump and pump and curve, to a curve and pump, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
So
nice, well
basic
spotted.
so basically your transition from smart money to dumb money.
Yeah,
Okay.
well
Maybe.
spotted.
Yeah. I guess. That's a bit advanced for me, but sounds good. I'd love to see, maybe what you could do, Landon, is just pull down a chart on TradingView and just put a couple notes on it, and then fire it up on the screen share, because I don't think I quite understand what it is you're talking about.
I've linked to it. Brian, I just put a link in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, you got it. Sweet.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, very interesting stuff. Yep. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, and I think yeah, isn't that interesting? So I guess this does sound familiar. I haven't studied it personally, but it does sound familiar. That looks like it makes sense.
There's market psychology at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's stuff for our Saturday show then, eh?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I mentioned it too. Like bookmark that for the show.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll put it in the
hey,
bookmarks.
one thing I wanted to add, if you can just put my screen on, Brian, because this is something I was talking to Landon about earlier.
Give me a second.
It's absolute. Well, it's not identical, but it's pretty close.
What are we looking at here?
Okay, so what we're looking at here is we're looking at the V bottom, and then we're looking at the sideways, and then the run up. Now this is quite similar to what we've had just go on, but this is the previous one. This is the Mt. Gox crash, and then followed by the run up to 700, 720 actually it went to. But obviously on this one it kind of stepped up, didn't it, staircase style to get up to the top, whereas on this one it just went straight up. But what's interesting is after it hit the top, it's then gone up, up, and I wrote this in Bitcoin markets. It's almost like after it hits the top, it's like the bulls want it to go back, so they keep buying, and everybody else just thinking, yeah, I'm gonna let this come up a bit because I want to short a little bit higher, so they let it go up, and then they all just kind of start selling it down again, and they let it come up and they start selling it down, and then the bulls kind of realize, okay, that's not working, and then it kind of goes sideways for a bit, as like people, as the people don't want to market sell because they still want it to go up, and the bulls have kind of given up buying, and then it just kind of goes down and collapses, and it takes its time. But it's very similar to what's happening right now, in that we've had the V bottom, we've staircased up, which is obviously different, and it could lead to a totally different scenario. But we've had the top, and then we've had, look, here's the next peak, and yeah, we could do another one. But we could also, and I have no idea what the future will be, but yeah, we could do that. We could do the same again, and that could be the same as what happened before. And then if that would be the same as before, we'd do a bit of that, followed by a bit of that, followed by that. So that's just one thing I just wanted to point out.
Yeah, what's the 38.2 off of that move there?
38.2 is on this.
Hourly?
Yeah, it's this 468 level.
Yeah. I think we need to get down there.
Yeah.
I really like that channel that you drew.
Mhm.
between the 38.2 and the 50. You see how long that consolidation was?
I know, it's
I
just
think
like,
we have to go back there.
I think it's unresolved business, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. This is, and you've got to hit 30. If this is the top, and if it could just do another couple of legs. But if it is the top, you've got to go 38.2, and that's into this zone. And this zone, I think it is unresolved because look at the body size on the candles. They're so small. Nobody was doing anything, and I think we need to go back there and say, look, is this a real support level or not?
So the question, and I guess this is like Elliott wave stuff. So the question is, how many waves up have we done here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, and usually third leg is the biggest one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, I count it. This wave count's getting a bit old.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then really what we have to do is we have to figure out, is this whole move up here part of a bigger move, right? And we'll find that out on the test of the 38.2. Right?
Well, I think Dan V, the Elliott Wave specialist, has got it something like this. I think he said up to kind of 500, and then he said down to here, kind of like this kind of area, and then he said back up, and then back down again. But Dan, he's super bearish on this at the moment. So
so what I see, right, is if we assume that we're going to get a 38.2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then draw a fib off of that low back up to the highs, and that should give you your OTE short sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Just said kind of that a dip just below.
Yeah, down into there, right?
Just experimenting with the 50. Yeah, OTE puts it back at kind of 520-ish, so...
Yeah, so that'll be your counter trend rally window, right? So
yeah.
And then the either fail there, that's going to set up a wicked short. If you got like the momentum and volume indicators rolling over there, that would be the short.
That's it, yeah. If it does do that, and it does bounce, and it does come up there and start to roll over, then yeah, that's gonna, and it shows a failure at that point. Then this one's gonna give way as well, isn't it? And that could then take it to OTE zone on this one as well.
Yeah. So really, the question is, how does this Gartley pattern play out here in the short term? If this is indeed the top, then we'll go take out those lows. On the BIF-NX, I guess it's at 495.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go take that out. Then the next leg, after that would be down. For me on the BTCE, that 38.2 is that 472.95 area. So, there's that 471 on this chart here. That's kind of what I would be looking for here. But I don't know if that lines up on your chart.
Yeah, Landon said we need to get Dan and Ron to join us and have have Brian trade Bitcoin more, and then we can have our professional hedge fund. But yeah, I think we should get Dan and Brian and Ron to definitely come on and do a session.
Yeah, well, and really the Ascend was mentioning this in our last show, and I don't think he's here tonight, is he? No, it doesn't look like he's here.
Not in.
But what we need, I think that's an excellent idea. The problem with these shows right now is they're sort of my puppy here. And you, Andre, Flibbr, you're working with me, and that's great. But I don't think those other guys are too jazzed about hopping on this show in particular.
No, I didn't mean for a show.
But
I meant for just like a trading purposes.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, on this cryptocurrency show, I'd love to have them on there. What I would love is to somehow make this like a third-party kind of thing. I just think that they, you know, they look at this as sort of my branded product, and I can understand why they would be leery of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to have them in here just chatting. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
more trader consensus is better, not worse.
Mhm.
So. All right, so it's
Hey.
about 6:30 here. As for the show in particular, I think we basically covered everything. Are there any questions that haven't been asked?
So I guess I have a general question for Flibbr, and this is Julian, by the way.
Julian.
So hey Flibbr. So Flibbr, you normally look at it from like a 15-minute perspective and an hour perspective.
I look at it across all time frames.
Do. I came in a little late. Did we look at it from a daily or weekly time frame and talk about it?
I haven't looked at it from it. Well, to be honest, when I'm looking at the 4-hour and the hourly, I'm kind of encompassing many days. But I have done a daily chart and published it, just with some kind of like ideas on. But I haven't spoken about it today.
Okay, I was just wondering if maybe we could go over that or a weekly for like example for me, like I can't trade it on an hourly chart because I just don't have time to watch it when I'm at work.
Yeah, like probably about 15-20 minutes I spent on the daily and 4-hour charts, Julian.
Okay, so I can go back and watch it then, Brian. If you spent time on it, I must have missed that part.
Yeah, well, because I do my presentation at the beginning and then Flibbr takes over, he kicks me out. I'm just being silly. Yeah, go ahead. And in fact, we even joked about this. Is that we get a lot of people that sort of come in about halfway through, and that just means you got to go watch the video later. Have fun.
And that's why I'm glad you're recording it.
All right. All right. So, is there any other questions that we haven't got to? Because I think I don't know, Andre, is there any or Flibbr, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't? I like how this Gartler is working out like that. That's just beautiful. I saw a Gartley in crude oil the other day. It was exactly the same. It's perfect. Anyway.
Yeah, I just checking the Reddit, just see if there's any questions on there. Let's have a quick look.
I have just a quick question for you, Brian. At what price level would you say the bearish scenario is completely off the table and we're back in a secular bull market?
I don't think the market structure itself is there yet. This is sort of the daily chart. Can you see my chart?
Let's have a look.
All right. So you've probably seen this ad nauseum. But the market structure itself is still pointing lower, in my opinion. So, I suppose you could argue that if we blast through this trend channel, very much like we did on the hourlies when we blasted through that trend channel, right? Same sort of philosophy. It can keep going. And, I'm sort of, secretly fearful of that because, everybody's thinking this, right? Oh my God, am I going to miss this, right? That's the whole fear of missing out. But this structure isn't typical of bull markets. Remember, I sort of drew this little W here, right? Even if you look back in the previous corrections, the irony of it all is you think that range was pretty wild. Well, I mean, the previous range was just as wild. We saw, you could argue that the structure of the market here, it turned here, right? Mm-hmm. So, we had to go through, keep making lower highs and lower lows till we finally stopped making lower lows. We actually started making higher highs and higher lows. You understand what I mean? So that's the whole concept of market structure. Like right now we're still in this, at this point when we're breaking these lows and then we're going and breaking these lows, it's just too difficult to be a bull. You're still a bear. you have to start seeing the market turn. And the interesting thing is that, once you get the market structure, maybe you aren't going to buy the exact bottom, but you get some just fabulous little buying opportunities. I mean, I suppose you could argue you could get really interested in this pullback here, and then, in this consolidation here, and just work its way up. But just please give me higher highs and higher lows to work with.
Brian, pal, we can't see your chart. I can just see your face.
Oh no, really?
Which is beautiful, but yeah, that's kind of.
Oh, I got to do that all over again.
I thought,
Did you? So, whoever asked that question, was it Marcus who asked the question?
yeah, I saw your charts.
Oh, you did see the chart?
Oh yeah, I would have said something if I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right. So, the point here, Darren, can you see the chart now?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Right.
Cheers.
So the point is, this is the last sort of bear market, right? And, everybody, kind of like what they're doing right now is they're just drawing trend lines off of the highs, right? So high, maybe I'll draw a trend line off of there. So, we start breaking it. Actually, this looks a little bit healthier than the current market that we're in. Trend line off of there. So this was an interesting turn in here. When I look at the trend lines now, and that whole idea of market structure, this is a very well-defined double top. And this trend line here, I mean, it's not exactly on. I suppose I could draw it, bring it down to that. And then this is a very well-defined top, like this lower low, so that confirms that. And this is just a BTCE. I'm sure the others are different. But this gives me a lot of confidence in this trend line. This, to me, looks very significant. So, again, here's that 38.2 battle. If we're looking at it from a little longer perspective, my hunch is that, whoops, hold on. My hunch is we need to fight this fight here. We need to come down and not make lower lows, right? So if we do have that fight there, right, we have to, whoops.
And just adding, Brian, that is going to be a big fight, because you can see after the 700 pump how long we were battling up there for. 620, that is just going to be a hugely psychological fight.
But look at, you got all this traffic in here, right?
Yeah.
So, sadly, the run up to here, that was 700 there, right? So, there's a lot of pissed off people in here, that thought they were buying. This is the short-term investment turns into a long-term, short-term trade turns into a long-term investment, right? So that if we get back into this area, they just want out. Get me out, get me out, get me out, get me out. So yeah, and then there's, this is that trend channel right there, right? So, my hunch is that, and, you could get a lot of hoopla in here, right? But my hunch is that we work our way up here, battle, 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 and then we got to work down here, battle, 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 battle. And then, if we can, number one, not make a new low, and then if we can put in a double bottom right around this OTE level, which, just so happened would break out through this trend channel, then we've got a new bull market to work with. Right now, it's still very, very early, in my opinion.
Hey, Brian. Oh, go ahead, Flibbr.
Go, Landon.
Oh, I actually, I'm wondering why you opened up the channel so much, and I figure it's probably because the that absolute spike on the second peak on that second run up. But can you see my screen here?
Hold on a second.
I've told Brian about this channel before. I've told him.
Yeah. Because
not like it at all.
No, well, see, and it makes such a huge difference. And
Okay.
can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I drove two lines. One from where your channel is at the absolute peak on Bitstamp, and then one through that surge peak right there, kind of closing in. Let me go back here. Closing in on basically the the girth, I guess you could say, of the price action. So
Sounds sick.
so starting at the top of the double top and then running down, and then actually intersecting to where we had dropped off, and then once again intersecting with that run up, that third run or second run up, and then once again look where that lines up for the third run up right here. You see what I mean? I mean, does that make sense, Brian?
Yeah, so the way I would look at that is, I like that line, but like what that line represents, just as you said, is, that's going to be the girth line. So you might get a little candle that spikes up through the top of it and tags the original trend line, and then zips right back down back to your girth line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, as in, like, for me, this is more like the channel, I consider,
Yeah, I like that, but that means you have to get rid of your girth line, doesn't it?
Well, those bottoms were usually a little thicker. I mean,
no, but just remove your little girth line, and you'll notice that that's actually a pretty parallel channel. Not that line, the other one. Yeah. Just start with your original trend line off of the top, and then do that parallel line that you did off the bottom there. Off the lows. Was it the lows that you did it?
For this, that'd be that, which makes the triangle.
Different. But anyway, trendline analysis. The interesting thing about trendline analysis is that some people will say they don't like to use trend lines because they do get violated. And like the Huddleston guy, he hates trend lines. He only uses horizontal support and resistance.
Yeah.
So, they are open to sort of personal interpretation. And I'm certainly not for a moment going to say that I'm the authority in technical analysis. I just sort of, this is sort of how I've been doing it over the years.
Well, the reason I brought that up is just because of Marcus's question, where do you consider us the breakout into from a bear market to a bull market? And to me, that's why I really see, like you guys were talking about, that retesting of at least the 50%, and then if basically for me, if it runs up and not just violates it just temporarily, but actually pushes through and starts to make a new trend out of that trend line for me, that's when I'm all long and I'm not looking at Bitcoin for a while.
So that's going to happen fairly shortly for you right here. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm short, so I think this is coming down.
Right. But, see, so when I look at my chart, what I see is that this channel that I've drawn is also right in that 38.2 up to 50% level, and then the key high there off of that, basically that 700 level, right? So for me, I could very easily envision price running up to my little channel top here and then failing. And so that would actually line up with my channel. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could see that if you break out from price here right now, like if I zoom in on this chart in particular, and keep in mind, when we look at one market versus another, because they're unregulated and they all have different prices, that's open to interpretation into itself. But, when I look at this chart, if I draw a trend line off of that peak to that peak, then right now it's actually got a battle on as we speak. So you can come up with battle points all over the place, and just this trend line break here, if it closes above here, then gee whiz, what a surprise! This is just about equal distance from here, right? If I clone this to up to here, yeah, look at that, eh? So so I could see that this trend line, it's shorter, hugging price action very closely. It's actually in play right as we speak.
So Brian, I agree with that analysis. So the weird thing is, I'm looking at my chart and my trend line that I drew over a month ago, and my trend line, I don't know. Let me share my screen real quick and see what you guys think. It actually broke out above mine, and I'm trying to look at it and see what I did wrong, but I can't.
Put it in logarithmic mode.
Put it in log mode.
Yeah.
Are we not supposed to do trend lines in normal mode?
You can do,
Not
but
long term.
yeah, because Bitcoin's growth is of that of a network, and like bacteria, it's kind of exponential. It kind of multiplies really fast. So if you're doing long term, you're better off going log mode. And if you have to undo all the trend lines and then redraw them in log mode, and you'll probably find it hasn't been violated.
Oh yeah, check this out. This is interesting, actually, Julian. So I don't know whether you guys can see my screen now, but I changed it from linear to log, and look how on a log scale the trend line off of that peak and that peak is actually just being tested right now. Isn't that interesting, eh?
I think that's just what Landon just said. Yeah. But listen, Julian, I'm going to show you something on the daily.
Are you talking about, Landon?
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
I always have everything on log because log is really more natural actually.
Yeah, I mean that's why, Brian. I've been trying to tell you about this channel for so long,
So the channel that I've drawn, okay, is right off the top, okay.
Yeah.
This particular one right here, it looks like this, right? So it goes
interim
here, and it kind of looks like it's there, eh? There,
yeah.
And then that goes like that, right? So that's that channel. So we came down to it, we lost it, and quickly recaptured it.
And funny enough, that channel is actually like a perfect Garn 15-degree channel as well on a 1-to-1 ratio on the 4-hour.
But now I can't even tell what the hell's going on in my chart.
But go to my screen, Brian. Put this on because I want to show Julian this on the daily because this is my daily chart.
I'm just playing. I'm sorry.
Flibbr, I have your chart pulled up.
Okay, yeah. So on this daily, look at it on my screen. This is so yeah. Going
so
off.
I was looking at this the other day.
Yeah, so I've got that long, thick red line that goes through, basically cuts through everything, and that's what I've called super long-term median. And then I've got this shorter line, which goes from the bottom of, say, where is that, $13, and cuts through the Silk Road support, the Silk Road crash. And that's an interesting one. The reason why I like that one is because that's actually where we bounced on that level, and like Brian said before, the trade sets itself up ahead of time. I just wonder where an OTE zone is off this. And this would be pretty weird, I imagine, if I just put this on here and then turn this into an OTE. So the OTE zone is there. So it wouldn't surprise me if we just kind of did go sideways for a bit. Who knows? We could probably go higher, who knows? But, we could do that into that OTE zone there, and then bounce off the same line again, and then make the higher high.
Yeah, I like that. And that basically corresponds with what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What time frame? Yeah, that's a daily. Yeah.
Daily log.
So, what?
That's
in May. Is that May, June? See, typically the market likes to bottom the end of May, beginning of June. Well, sometime around sort of the second week of June. So
Sell in May, walk away. So yeah. I mean,
usually,
to me that kind of.
You can see in stock market land it's happened ahead of time here, right?
Yeah, and I just wonder if talking about horizontal lines, just put one across on the bottom, and you see this is the let me just make it a bit thicker so it stands out. This is the yeah, I know we've kind of we hit it there, we kind of bounced off it there, we went through it there, but the actual bodies held it. So and it's kind of like near this OT zone, it follows this support. So I'd say that's actually quite a good, I mean, it's just probabilistic targets, isn't it? And that could be quite a good, probabilistic target maybe.
Yeah, I like that. So Julian, does that sort of talk to your sort of longer term perspective?
Yeah, that was great. So I didn't know about the log charts so much. I'm actually going to have to look into that more tonight and read about it. Flibbr, what did you read about to understand log charts? Or maybe Landon has a suggestion for something to read just to get a more in-depth perspective.
I mean, nothing really to it. It's just, instead of seeing stuff as 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 as equal on a graph, they're not equal. They represent a ratio between one another. So
yeah, I understand that. I was just I understand how kind of logs work. I just was kind of curious on if there'd been any research on why we use logs in a chart.
Well, because oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say the reason why you use log on Bitcoin is because it's exponential growth, and any network grows exponentially. Like bacteria is a network, a forest is a network, and it grows exponentially. You have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. You know what I mean? It just grows so fast, and that's why you use a log chart, because it's just better at representing that network growth. But this is the other thing as well. I just wanted to show. Look at the height of that rebound, and then the height of that rebound, and then the height of that rebound.
The next one.
Yeah, and you see each one is getting smaller and smaller, and it could be that the next one is just kind of like that, and then it could be that it's off. I posted a link to this at that exact. There's some guy here, Hiro Joanna. He worked out how much dollar value all these were, and it's really equal. It's like something like whatever it is. It's half, half, and half again. It doesn't express it so well on the log chart because it's logarithmic. But if I take it off logarithmic, you can actually see this one is like whatever that is. This is half that, and this is half that again. So that one could be like half that again, and then it could be, just sort of an idea, isn't it?
That's got to be one of these GAN drawing tools that TradingView's got on the side here, eh?
Yeah.
Like they got. Look at. Maybe we could see that the fib spiral. That might be it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've had an experiment with all of them. I did publish some charts on them, but
Hey, Flibbr. You also notice something else that's really interesting. Each one of those run back ups, the ratio, what's the term I should use? The velocity of each run up is also getting sharper and sharper, like the angles of it itself as it comes down. So the first one took much longer, even though it was much wider berth. It took much longer. The second one took much less, and the third one took much less. Whereas, so it's getting to the point where if it made another leg up, the thing would be going straight up. You'd have a 90% like straight up velocity, and as to the log charts, I've got my Bitstamp chart here. This is log. You see how sexy and that chart is on long on the 3-day. Now I switch this over to linear, and look at that. Yeah.
It's a bubble. Tulips.
So exactly. So it doesn't make sense as much. I mean, you don't see the long-term bull market in this at all. as well as this
the
is
cautionary note, right? Is when you're using a logarithmic, you're assuming that that growth rate stays constant.
of course.
The whole thing, and keep in mind, logs work they work. It's like kind of like the leverage analogy. It works great for you on the way up, and it kills you on the way down. So,
well, here's the thing with that though. If it does break this logarithmic pattern, then I know that the long-term trend is in trouble.
Yeah.
So, and that's much harder to see on linear.
Yeah. I mean, that there just looks beautiful, doesn't it?
so did that that's Bitcoin wisdom. When you drew that trend line on the log scale and then switched it over to linear, did it curve that trend line? Did they do that automatically?
Yep.
So because that's
really cool
interesting.
feature.
Yeah, that's a very interesting tell in itself, right? Because basically,
One more down.
we understand that markets, and Julian, this is really good lesson here. We understand that markets move in a parabolic nature, right? So the logarithmic chart, that line put back, if you could put that chart back, that trend line that's straight in the logarithmic scale, in a linear scale, you can literally see that parabolic nature of the market in action. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was about to comment how incredible that actually is, and how neat that Bitcoin wisdom feature is. I guess Trading Base doesn't have that.
That's the first time I've ever seen that.
I've never seen anything like that, but you're right. That perfectly lays out like the parabolic nature of markets and why certain stocks that go hyper parabolic, I guess I would say, they often sell off in a similar parabolic fashion.
Yeah. Well, and you could argue that the sell-off, the trend line off of those peaks and the way that price is just touching that, it looks like it's following a very natural parabolic move to the downside. And so you could argue that we're coming up to an important apex here, aren't we?
Yeah, I think one more retracement, test the line, just because we've gone up so big, to the OTE, which will put us on the line, and then max leverage, all out long, buy and hold.
Oh yeah, that's about my strategy right there.
When do we get this website live again?
We're working on it. Work in progress.
All right, guys.
I don't know if... Yeah, go ahead.
It's 7 o'clock now, so I think we'll wind things up for this evening's broadcast. Thank you for everybody. Oh, Ascend. Great timing, Ascend. We're about to close shop, so you can stick around for chit-chat and cookies afterward. But the show is basically winding up here. Thank you, Andre, for your awesome contribution, as always. You make this show a lot of fun for me to do. Thank you, panel members. We had a pretty full house tonight, so that's great to see. Hopefully, we've had lots of questions answered and people have learned things. I've noticed as we've gone along here 2 or 3 little tidbits that I think you can take away from tonight's show. So that's really good. Just a closing plug for myself. My name is Brian Beamish. I run a website called therationalinvestor.ca. I'm on TradingView called CRInvestor and on Twitter. If you enjoyed this broadcast, feel free to either follow me or Flibbr at TradingView, which are these guys, and on Twitter. These shows are lots of fun to do, and I hope you guys learned something from it. I've done a whole bunch of tutorials that are slideshow in nature presentations, and I'm going to do little 4 or 5 minute videos on them to describe how all the tools that I use, how they work. So feel free to check those out at your leisure. And again, you know, I've always asked, and I see that you guys have really helped out. But if you enjoyed the program and if you learned, feel free to donate to the Canadian Rational Investor Bitcoin Fund, and you can do that by clicking on the donate button on the website. Thanks again to everybody out there in Google Hangout land and on YouTube. Hope to talk to you and see you all soon. And God bless. Have a great evening, and all the best to you and your family. And we'll hope to hear from all of you real soon in the near future. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, Brian. Bye.